Welcome to Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. I'm your host, Lisa Huff. Over the last 5 years, I've coached hundreds of hairstylists and beauty industry professionals, helping them work their dream schedules exclusively with their dream clientele and earn their dream income, all while fostering genuine connections and lifelong friendships inside the beauty industry. In this podcast, we dive deep into abundance, manifestation, business building strategies, and creating a life that you are truly proud of, both behind the chair and at home. Are you ready to embark on a journey of personal growth, success, and sisterhood? Then hit that subscribe button now and get ready to experience the pure magic of Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. I have an exciting guest with me today, Whitney Kilpatrick. She's a salon owner and innovative hairstylist with over 9 years in the industry. Whitney has not only led her salon, Maven Fort Worth Hair Co., to remarkable success, but was also on the national stage in Hairstyle the Talent Show USA, a hairstylist competition TV show. She's a passionate mentor committed to elevating the beauty industry. She brings her wealth of knowledge and experience to inspire the next generation of hairstylists. Whitney reached out to me on Instagram asking if I was open to collaborating and bringing guests on, and I said, heck yes. So you guys are listening to me getting to know Whitney for the first time as well. Whitney, thank you so much for being here and reaching out. How are you doing today?
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. What an introduction. I am so happy to be here and grateful to connect with you. I've been seeing your work in the industry, so I'm happy to kind of have this conversation with you.
Yeah, totally. That's what I was saying to Whitney before we started recording. Obviously in this podcast, if you guys have been listening, if you're new, if you found me through Whitney, hello, I'm so happy you're here. I run an online mastermind membership for hairstylists called Stylist Soul Tribe. And while a podcast had been on my radar for years, I never pulled the trigger on releasing it, but finally got to the point I was 5 years into running this mastermind. And I was just like, there are so many incredible conversations that I am witness to right now. I am like my full-time job is listening to hairstylists have the best conversations ever, like breakthrough, mind-blowing conversations. I was like, I need to share that with the rest of the industry. So that is one reason why this podcast started, but it was also another reason I did it is to network and to connect with new people. This is a really cool platform to just be able to like deep dive, converse. And I've been falling in love with just like having these long form conversations with people. So I'm super excited to dive into it. Why don't you share by just like telling everyone your story? Start where it feels appropriate to you. Give us a brief overview. And then I always say this in the podcast episodes, I'll probably interrupt you 15 times and the conversation will take off in a million different directions because that's how my brain works. But I'd love to just get to know you a little bit more.
Awesome. Well, sounds like we both have squirrel brains, so I'm cool with like going off on all these tangents. It's fun. Who knows where it'll take us.
Yeah.
My start in the hair world began when I was in high school. So I was able to do a high school program and get my license when I graduated, but it wasn't my original plan to be like a career hairstylist. At that point, this was in 2015 when I graduated high school, and at that point, people like my family and, society was still telling me like college is the way to go. Great, you can do hair while you work your way through college.
Yeah.
But like that was always the plan.
Like a side gig.
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah, like I'll just, it's better than working at like, the mall.
Yeah.
So it's like I'll do hair while I go to college. And then luckily I like landed at a salon, my first salon, where people were doing really well. And that was just the first I'd seen hairstylists making good money. And my mentor at the time was 23 years old. She was making 6 figures on a W-2 paycheck. And she was putting her husband through college and bought a house. So I was like, okay, what?
Yeah, you're like and then you're like going to college learning the like average salary of graduates, and you're like, do you guys know what's going on over here? Like, cosmetology school isn't a bad idea. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm like, I'm making more than the professors teaching me business when I'm like, so it just didn't make sense. And then once, and they were on the salon I started at worked with the Summit Salon systems. And so they had the level system and the goals, and that was really worked well in my brain. And I'm just competitive by nature. So when my mentor was achieving the things she was achieving at her age, I was like, okay, I got to do it before her. And like the numbers and the goals, all of that just like really clicked in my brain. And so I ended up working there for 4 years. And my last year there, I totaled up on my W-2 $165,000 in a
Incredible.
year at the age of 21, which
Incredible.
is wild.
Yeah.
And I didn't come from much. I had a single mom. And so
Mm.
this was like, when I out earned both my parents, I was at
Wow.
21. I was like,
Literally.
I
Wow.
wanted to scream it from the rooftops of like,
Yeah.
you should do hair. Everybody should do hair. Like,
Hmm.
what are we doing? I didn't have college debt. I had flexibility in my schedule. I worked 4 days a week doing that. And so I just thought it was like better than
Can
sliced
I
bread.
ask what
I'm
your
like,
gross services were that year? I'm just curious. People always want to know how those numbers break down because 165 on a W-2 is extremely impressive.
yeah, insane. I would have to pull up. I have my books. That was in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So I clearly remember my W-2. I can see it.
Mm.
It had to have been over 200,000, 250.
Yeah,
Something
maybe
like
even up to
that.
three, depending on what kind of margins your owner was able to create. That's amazing.
Right. Yeah, I think I was getting paid like 51% commission
Wow.
on that.
Okay. To do math
And
on
then,
that, yeah.
tips and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it was up there and it was impressive. Like I was just like, I'd never seen that much money
And what
before.
kind of
So
services were you doing in this period of time?
it was a lot of color. It was a
Okay.
lot of color. But it is crazy to me to think about how the industry has changed just from that year, like in
Mm-hmm.
2018, 2019, because it was the summit way. So I don't know, for people who aren't familiar, summit's just like a way that people, operate salons. And
Mm-hmm.
back in that day, it was a lot of like
Mm-hmm.
quickness and more like quantity. And
Mm-hmm.
so I started to feel a little bit of burnout going there because I was seeing
Fair.
probably 10 to 12 clients a day and I
So
had
you like
two
double, triple
assistants.
booking? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, yeah, and two assistants
Interesting.
with me. So I mean, that's how I was able to like do that.
Volume
Um,
of, yeah.
Yes, but fast forward, I was able to scale it as these new techniques, come
Mm-hmm.
to be. And now we're doing, I was doing 4 to 6 week highlight touch up, and we were doing a mohawk section, and I
Yeah.
could get that in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So now it's more lived in. I'm seeing people like 12 to 16 weeks in between their
Mm-hmm.
appointments instead of 4 to 6. So times have changed, and with
Mm-hmm.
that, comes longer service time, comes a higher ticket. So I
Absolutely.
think we've been able to scale in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I was at that salon doing really well, and I loved that part of it, that I could work 4 days a week, come in, do
Make
hair,
incredible
and
money. Yeah.
go home. Yes, like it was awesome. Then it just started to get a little bit toxic because I was so young and doing
Mm.
well. It immediately felt like everybody in the salon was like
That
not a
sucks.
fan of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, so there became a little bit of like some bullying, or you'd walk in the back
Mm.
room, everybody would be talking. And I'd
Mm.
mentioned it to the boss, my owner at the time, and I was just like, hey, I really don't want to leave, but like this is getting to be a little bit unbearable for me. And
Yeah.
she was like, donkeys run with donkeys and thoroughbreds run with thoroughbreds. And it's lonely at the top. And I was
Wow.
like, okay, well,
Did she just
that's
call
not
her
gonna work.
entire staff donkeys?
No, literally.
That
Oh
that
yeah, it
leaves
gets
you
better.
that leaves you, yeah, feeling kind of like powerless. Like what do we do now? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, I don't see myself. So one, the culture was bad because there was a lack
Mm.
of leadership. And I really dissected her style of like,
Mm-hmm.
was very, she was doing her best, but it was very, she wasn't willing to have the hard conversations, and she
Mm.
wasn't willing to like
We see that a
read
lot.
like very,
Yeah.
yeah, and cultivate a very specific type of team. It was like whoever
Mm-hmm.
wants to work here can work here. And I was like, I'm feeling not comfortable here. So it was
Yeah.
lack of leadership and culture. And then it was lack of growth opportunities. So I'd gone
Mm.
through the level system, like all the way to the top. And then it was like, what
You
else? If
hit a
I want to make
glass
more money,
ceiling.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, they were like, just do more hair. And I was like,
Mm.
okay. So then I started looking into maybe becoming an educator for a
Yeah.
brand, or maybe becoming a consultant for the summit people. And so I was like,
Mm-hmm.
looking for other opportunities outside of the salon. And then it got to be pretty unbearable. Like I remember just like contemplating if hair was even right for me, and like,
Mm.
coming, you're driving to work, and I just would think like, should I just not exit on the highway? Like,
Wow.
should I just
Yeah.
keep driving? And like, maybe I'll hit a coast at some point. I'm in Texas, so it'd take
Mm-hmm.
me a while to hit a coast, but
Mm-hmm.
I was
Maybe I
like,
just run
I'll just,
away from all of this.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll just keep going.
Mm.
And so then I was like, okay, I have to find a change. So I interviewed at several other commission salons because, like I said, I
Hmm.
liked that arrangement. I was like,
Yeah.
this is a cool arrangement. I'm still young. I could
How
pick up
much,
and
let
go
me, real
whenever.
quick, this is what I mean by the squirrel. How much were you
Yeah.
marketing yourself during that time? Because obviously there's misconceptions, or sometimes this is able to be the setup. Like, were you just being fed those clients through the salon, or was that a lot of your own doing, or a mixture? What was that setup?
Yeah. I would say it was a good mixture because
Okay.
they were a pretty like well-ran salon, and they were, even
Okay.
after I left, they were able to like really stay afloat for a while. But I will say this is like 2015 to 2018, 2019. So this is like pioneer days of Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I was the youngest one there. So I was on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram and
Yeah.
nobody else was on
You were doing
Instagram.
things different. Yep.
And I was willing to pay for ads myself. And
Ooh.
I was super nerdy, so
Mm-hmm.
still super nerdy. So I would like Google, Facebook ad strategy or
Yeah.
Instagram ad strategy, and I would put like $1 a day. And, so I was willing to invest money of
At the
my
highest
own to,
point, here's my squirrel brain again. At the highest point, how much were you
yeah.
spending on ads? Would love to know.
Oh, I bet you I'd probably spend like a couple $100 a month.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, someone else just said something
Yeah.
similar about Yelp ads in a podcast interview I did, and at one point she was up to $700 a month in Yelp ads, but she was bringing in $15,000 from those ads, so it was a no-brainer.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
keep going.
Probably
Sorry.
not too much. No, you're good
Yeah.
because I didn't need to. It was just
And
like
during those
flooding to
days,
me.
it was like ads were so brand new. You were like, okay, I'm just going to boost this and throw a little bit of money behind it to see what happens. Um, Off on a tangent now. I know you're getting into the digital education world. I am trying to understand ads in that standpoint, not the behind the chair standpoint. I've taken quite a few boot camps, things like that, but I'm in a mastermind right now with Stu McLaren, who teaches people how to run membership sites. And I just went to a mastermind event in Nashville in September, I think it was, and this woman, Allie Kay was her name. She like teaches people how to paint online. She has like an online membership for that. She did this like crazy launch week where she pumped ads behind it, and Stu did this like big breakdown of her numbers. And he basically showed, I mean, it got to the point where I'm going to skew these numbers. Maybe I shouldn't have said her name. I doubt anybody listening to this is ever going to know who she is. But she was spending at one point, I mean, I want to say like $7,000 a day or some like crazy amount on ads. But Stu was showing us her like Excel spreadsheet. And he was like, people hit this point where, let's say we get to like $1,000 a day on ads, which, you guys, I'm not doing this at all yet. I'm just absorbing this as this little baby in this room of all these incredible online entrepreneurs. He was like, a lot of people hit this point eventually and they get uncomfortable. But if this column is bigger than this column, which means the money that's coming in that day is bigger than the money on the ad spend, you keep going. You don't stop until you hit the point that those columns are like, eventually got to the point after this launch that she did, she brought in $183,000 per month of recurring revenue in her business. I was sitting in this room like, I need to learn ads. They're so fucking complicated though. I can't figure it out. One day I'm going to know how to do all that.
Yes.
But like, you just don't realize the possibility of what is online. And even she was there sharing with us, and you could tell she was just as like flabbergasted by it as well. She was like, I have no idea. I need to hire a team. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. But she literally, her launch was so successful, $183,000 per month of reoccurring revenue because of this like crazy successful ads week she had. Anyway, sorry, I got off on a
No,
tangent
I
on
love it.
ads.
No, I love it because I think it goes to show like that's a principle of
Hmm.
investing in yourself.
Yeah.
And anytime you invest in yourself or put the money in, I think a lot of people get scared to like, go
Yes.
spend. When I tell people that I've spent probably a college degree on my education,
Yeah.
they're like, what, a class, an extension class, 5 grand. And they're like, huh? You know,
Yeah.
or my shears, I bust down and buy the nice shears, and
Yeah.
some people are like, and I think it comes from that,
Money
scarcity mindset.
stories. Yeah. Hmm.
And so I think it's just a good principle to know that like every time when you bet on yourself, it's
Mm.
always going to pay off. And
Yeah.
that don't be afraid to invest in you and your education
And
and
just pay
ads.
attention to that ROI. And it's true because everyone has a number where they start to get uncomfy. It could be $20, it could be $25,000. Everybody has that number that lands somewhere. But if you're paying attention to ROI, if this column is bigger than this column, you always keep going. You keep doing it with every year that I've become more successful or grown my business in whatever way. Every year, my investment into myself goes up to an uncomfortable level. I have to keep pushing
Mhm.
myself to do that.
Yes, right. I'm right here with you. I
Yeah.
just dropped 25,000 on a mastermind
Yeah.
last year, and
Hmm.
it's just something that when you put yourself in rooms with people you would not normally be in rooms with,
Yeah.
you learn 10
So
times the
powerful.
investment that was in there. And I think it goes to show that, when you observe the people who are doing the things you want to do, you
Mm.
kind of get that rhythm down of, oh, they're investing. Or you hear people like Jasmine Star,
Yeah.
or that was I think the first person who had mentioned masterminds in her podcast. And when
Mm.
she told me she 100 grand to be in a mastermind, I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what?
The limit
That's a
truly
yearly
does not
salary.
exist. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it gives you proof. So like I don't know oh well, you said your upbringing, you had a single mom and stuff, but if you don't put yourself in those rooms, all you have around you is people that, like the proof is around you that like this is as much as anyone is able to get. When you go out of your way to put yourself in the room, like I was sitting next to that woman who did this like incredible launch, it's like that's proof. She's just as shocked. She's behaving how I would behave if that happened to me. That's proof that it can happen. Anyway, I told you I was going to interrupt you. You
Yes. No,
were
that's
killing it behind the chair. You decided you needed to move on to something else. Keep going with your story. I'm so sorry.
yes. No, you're good. So we found, I was looking at commission salons, trying to find something because I liked that model.
Mm-hmm.
I did not want to be my own business owner. Like, was not on my radar. Every salon owner I knew was miserable, didn't like their life. So
Mm-hmm.
that's not the route I wanted to go.
Yeah.
But I interviewed at commission salons and I couldn't find one that was like a level up. It just
Mm-hmm.
felt like it was a lateral move.
Mm.
And then there were some weird rules that really irked me, like,
Okay.
oh, because you're new, you have to work till 9 p.m.
Yeah.
twice a week.
And you're like, I'd
Or
worked too hard to get away from that. Yeah.
yes, I'm like, I'm bringing in 20 to $25,000 a month in
Mm-hmm.
services. Are you kidding me?
I can't
Like
have the
and
freedom to
I'm not
work when I
working.
want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not working evenings right now. So why would I work evenings going to your
Yeah.
place? So, there were some things which I'm thankful for now because I probably would have just gone to another commission salon and I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have been where I am now. And
Yeah.
so I felt pretty forced to go do my own thing. And I had found a commission or a booth rental salon that was a little bit of a hybrid. They
Mm.
provided back bar, shampoo service, front desk software,
Good culture, I'm
uh,
assuming.
a great culture. Yeah. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, this is like a good step. It's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really on my own per se. They do a lot of marketing. So I liked that. Went in there and I was always used to working with an extra set of hands. So I had brought my assistant at the time. I don't call them assistants anymore. We
Okay.
use the term resident. We don't like the A word.
Resident?
Yes. Yeah.
I
Like a
love that.
doctor
It's
would.
almost like a doctor
Yeah.
going on residency. I love that.
Yeah, like they have their degree, which are residents have their license, but they're here
Mm-hmm.
to get their advanced hands-on training.
Obsessed.
So we call it our residency program. And so our residents come in. So I had one come with me and then it got to the point where it was like, well, we don't really, you're kind of done learning from me, but what's next for you? Are you going to booth rent here? I'm like, well, I guess I could like take you on as a team member, but I don't really
Mm-hmm.
know how to do that. So, it just started
Mm-hmm.
like learning with her of like, okay, I guess I have to, learn how to do payroll and,
Yeah.
find a better CPA and, start, building the knowledge base of what it takes to be a leader, grow a team.
Yeah.
So I started with her and I still have her on my team. This was in 2019 when I hired her and she's on my team to this day. And so we just started going one at a time like that. And we went from that suite to 2 suites to three
Amazing.
suites until we were like doing $35,000 a month in
Wow.
3 suites. And I was like,
Wow.
okay, I think we can bounce and go into a salon. And so a
Yeah.
year ago, this month in January, we opened up our first like brick and mortar. We were out of a suite.
Wow.
And now I have a team of 12
Oh my
stylists.
goodness.
In our first year in our building, we did $500,000, which was really
Wow.
cool. And we're on track to hit, or our goal is to hit a million, seven
You're ready to
figures
hit
this year.
that. Yeah. That's
Yes, yeah.
amazing.
So we're really working and the money is cool, right? Like that's cool of some sort of KPI success marker.
Yeah.
But for me, the more important success is watching the team grow, watching these stylists double their income over the last
Mm,
year, or see the change in their mindset when they really are
hmm.
surrounded with people who have big goals and dreams, and
Yeah,
watching their eyes open to like the possibilities of what could be in the industry.
yeah,
So I think that to me is a more important KPI or marker. The money will come. I'm like the big numbers will happen
yeah.
along the way, but my priority is the team and what we're building.
And above all else, like getting to the point where you don't think about not hitting your exit anymore. Like going into work every single day being so happy and excited. So I'd love to hear your thought process around building this team because those benchmarks, everything that you just, spewed out are almost unheard of. So I guess how was that intentional? What did that look like? Are there, growing pains happening right at this very moment? Because there are for a lot of people. Like, tell me more, zoom in on that. I would love to hear more about that.
Oh, for sure. So the team aspect for me is really, I think by nature, I'm just a problem solver. And
Mm-hmm.
over the years, I've really just come to, okay, that's how my brain works.
Mm-hmm.
And because I saw the two main problems at my first salon, lack of leadership and culture and lack of growth opportunities.
Yeah.
So I know that when I was designing this, I was like, I don't want to be a miserable salon owner. I want to be a happy salon owner. So I have to
Mm-hmm.
create systems so that I am not the glue that holds everything together, that I
Yeah.
could remove myself
Yeah.
and this operation would continue on.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to be a salon built by hairstylists for hairstylists.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started with, and I just went through, I mean, we did go through quite a few team members before finding, sifting through and finding the right ones who are like the
Yeah.
down. I don't know if, do you listen to Layla and Alex Hormozy?
Yes, I mean, not religiously, but definitely familiar with them.
Yeah, well, they say it's some down motherfuckers. That's who they
Mm-hmm.
hire.
Yeah, love
That's
that.
like their.
Uh-huh.
So I don't quite get explicit like that
I
with
love
my
it.
team,
Uh-huh.
but that is who we're looking for.
You
Like
want
we're
that
looking
like
for the people
dog.
that are,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like somebody who's got the drive, somebody who's the go-getter, somebody that like truly believes in our mission and is like
Mm-hmm.
proud to be a part of it. Somebody who's a part of something bigger than just like I come here, I make money and I go home. It's
Yes.
like no,
Mm-hmm.
we're building an empire. We want to change the industry. We want to show
Mm-hmm.
people that women can work in a supportive, encouraging, uplifting environment. And like
Wow.
that's the mission. And then the money follows. Like, all of that kind of happens when you put out good value, you try to be the best version of yourself. The
Yeah.
rest of it happens. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
the growing pains was learning how to be a good leader, you know, especially in my early 20s, because I
Yeah.
think in our early 20s, we're just trying to figure ourselves out.
Yeah.
Therapy was handy. Like therapy is 100%. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like entrepreneurship is the biggest self-development journey you will
Agree.
be on
Yeah.
because you're putting yourself out there and you don't want to put an unhealed version or,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a version of yourself that you're kind of going through blindly,
And your
reacting to
broken
life.
parts will manifest in different ways. Like if there is still something unhealed, which we all have that, but like that will show itself in business times X because you're making big moves, and a lot of people find themselves in that on their skyrocket journey to success. So it sounds like it's been
Yeah.
a very impressive run for you. And it sounds like you're very self-aware and staying on top of all of that. So you said you have 12 team members currently?
Yes,
Are you at
yes.
capacity or you could take in more?
No, we're taking more. This has been crazy. We've
I
had
bet.
over 165 applicants to work at our
Holy
salon
fuck.
in the last year and a half. No, I'm like, I just had an interview with two people on Monday and we're onboarding them next week.
And you're
So
in
it's like now
Dallas? Or where are you?
Fort Worth. Well,
Fort
Fort
Worth.
Worth,
Okay.
it's the better part of DFW.
Okay.
But a lot of people say Dallas. Yeah, I mean, we share the same airport, so it's fine.
Uh-huh.
But
Okay. But
there's a
yeah,
little
we
bit of
don't.
beef there.
Okay, we don't put that there. So Fort Worth. Have you like considered a second location? Where's your brain even at 1 year in with this level of
Oh,
success?
I know. I'm literally trying to sort through all of that. And, you asked about growing pains too. And it definitely, as we're growing it, and I tell my team, I'm like, this is the first time I've, been a leader over 12 people.
Yeah.
Like I'm still learning. I'm trying to figure out how to keep the culture as we scale and all of that kind of stuff. And so
Mm-hmm.
second location has definitely been on the mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I am, I have witnessed, this has been like a very relevant and current conversation recently I've
Mm-hmm.
had with some of my family and team members, but the first salon I worked at, they started going downhill when they opened a second location.
Mm-hmm.
And the booth rental salon I went to, they opened up a second location. And then after that, they just ended up selling
Mm-hmm.
their first location. So it's like,
So you have some fear
I,
and some triggers around there. And you know
yeah,
what? And I think that's smart to take it slow because who knows what 3 years from now your team can look like? Who knows what those applications can look like? And while you want to capitalize on this like trajectory you're on right now, it also is safe to and probably wise to be like, let's just get our bearings for a little bit. Let's like really get the foundation under us. And then if we still feel very confident in that move, then maybe go that
yeah,
direction.
yeah. And it would be a totally different move for me because before I'd incubated my salon in a salon suite. And
Mm-hmm.
so to go to an immediate salon location with a build out and a debt payment and big
Yeah.
girl rent,
Yeah.
immediately makes me feel like I'd be a little bit more desperate to hang on to
Fair.
team members if they weren't the best
You
fit
see how
because I
that
have to
system
pay
gets
them better.
broken. Yep. And you see, and
And
you can
so
then
I'm like,
empathize with these other salon owners who were in that same position. Yeah.
And so
That's really
that kind of
wise.
stirs me. But we have thought about we're kind of because we just can't sit still, me
Of
and my team. I
course.
think I've attracted these doers. And so
Mm-hmm.
we have thought about planting some seeds in Denver. We just have a couple
Okay.
stylists and myself included that love to travel to Denver. And we have a
Amazing.
couple VIP clients that are moving to Denver and have asked us to do their hair up in Denver. So we've thought
Yeah.
about maybe just like renting a chair,
At the
every
very
couple
least, yeah, a
months and doing
pop-up
hair.
situation. Totally.
Yeah, and just, and then if it takes off, then we have a seed planted and then I can incubate. That feels
Mm-hmm.
comfortable for me to like incubate the salon in a suite in a chair,
Yeah.
and then grow into that. My salon coach has been really helpful in showing me some of that mindset of like we were doing $35,000 a month with 7 stylists and 3 chairs.
Wow.
So we can maximize our space. So we only have 8
Mm-hmm.
chairs right now. And then we have the soon to be 14 stylists, but
Wow.
we're open 7 days a week. We're double
Wow.
shifting, triple shifting our
And it
days.
is all
So
commission based.
it's all commission based.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So I think we have lots of room, but it's definitely on the brain of like, okay, we're at some point this can't continue. Something that we
Totally.
have implemented that I think has been really helpful and maybe a little bit different in the
Mm-hmm.
industry is that we do have a 90-day trial period for people, but it's more so a 3-month mentorship. And
Mm-hmm.
if we both feel like it's a good fit after 3 months, then we'll offer you a long-term
Mm.
position. And that helps bring people through because we have so many applications and what I've learned in the hiring process is a lot of people want this level, like just like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of us want 6-pack abs,
Mm-hmm.
but like who's willing to actually put in the work, and it usually takes about 90 days to kind of figure that
To
out
see if
with
they start to
people.
lose that sparkle they had in the beginning or that,
Yeah, or
drive
they're
they
like,
had in the beginning. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I tell people I'm very explicit in our interview process where I'm like, hey, we're not the type of salon where you can go do hair and go home. Like we're
Mm-hmm.
somebody who wants to be fully involved. We have
We're
team bonding
obsessed.
events, we celebrate
Mm-hmm.
birthdays. Yeah, we are all in bought into this.
Yeah.
And if that's not you, like no shame in the game, like no worries. I'm glad
Just
we
not
have
the
an
right
industry
fit.
that caters to everybody, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, just not the right fit with us. And I think people want that. And then they come in and they're like, oh,
This
so
is what you meant.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, like I have to be here at 7:30 a.m. Like I'm
Wow.
used to just booking at 10 and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, sorry, like, this is it. So I think that has helped us. So kind of offering a 3-month mentorship, then if it doesn't go on, then we can filter through people. And then we're still sending people out of our salon company after 3 months,
Yeah.
learning, a better stylist. Like they've learned a lot from us, and then we can send them on their way and they can find somewhere that might be a little bit of a better fit or style for
Yeah.
them. And I think that's been some current growing pains that we've kind of had to go through where I'm like, they're like an
Totally.
80% fit. And I have this like where I like want to help everybody. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
could just, I could, if they just a little bit more work, and I think we could like really, I see the potential
I have a
in
lot
them,
of
but they're,
owners in Soul Tribe say that they just see the potential so much and then they quickly realize they're like, oh, I want it way more than she wants it. Yeah.
yes, yeah. And
Yeah.
so then I've realized, okay, you can't keep the 80%ers, but if I can keep them for 3 months, show them some new techniques, show
Yeah.
them, our our big dreams and how that's possible, then I
Mm-hmm.
send them on their way. We've done a good job, and we can peacefully part ways,
Mm-hmm.
and continue on that journey.
Yeah, love that. So when we were talking a little bit before we hit record, you said you have like an ebook coming out. You're dipping into digital education, which for me makes perfect sense because I'm obviously that's the route that I went as well. So what is it that you're sharing? It's owners that you're trying to speak to, and what is like, is it just all these systems that have worked for you, or tell me more about what you're trying to bring to the industry now?
Yeah, pretty much. So I knew that for the next phase of my life. So I'm 26 right now, and I know I've been married for 7 years. And so I like
Mm-hmm.
kids are on the horizon. And
Yeah,
I knew that like, okay, I got to stop trading time for dollars so much. And so
yeah.
wanted to start working, and the things are working for me are crazy working for me. And
Why
I
not
think,
share it? Mm-hmm.
yeah, why not share it? And I believe in this beauty industry so much. And I believe that I want to be the change in the
Mm-hmm.
industry and help everybody kind of move and elevate in that
Mm-hmm.
direction. And so it's like, why not, share what's working for me. And so
Totally.
I had a couple beta coaching clients, beauty business owners, not just hair salons. I actually had
Yeah,
my client was a waxing salon
awesome.
owner, and she felt pretty trapped, and I felt trapped as well in the beginning, where I was like, I don't have much to offer. I'm in a suite, I have these goals and hopes of being a salon one day, but I would pretty
Yeah,
much think, if you want to take a chance on me, I'll hire you. Like, and I didn't have much interest. So it was pretty much anybody who applied got hired.
yeah.
And then I quickly ran through people, and I was like, oh, this is not going to work. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and same with this waxing boutique owner. She was hiring just anybody who had interest.
Yeah.
And I just basically shared her all my ugly Google Docs that I had just written out
Yep.
everything of like, this
This
is
is
how
the
I hire.
method to the madness thus far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And I was like, let's just, try it, put it in, because I think you need to cast a wider net. And so I put all my hiring systems into her business. And in the first week, she had 10 phone interviews scheduled
Wow.
for people interested in her business. So I was like, oh, this works. And I just wasn't even, I
Mm-hmm.
had no idea. The purpose of the beta coaching was just kind of figure out where my zone of genius is, and
Mm-hmm.
what might seem ordinary to me was,
Totally.
worked
Can it
extraordinary
be
for her.
duplicated
And
by somebody else? Yeah.
right. And so I was like, oh, clicked. So I was like, perfect. And then I'm in a bunch of Facebook groups for salon
Mm-hmm.
owners, and people complain about staffing and hiring all the time,
Yeah.
especially legacy salon owners that are hiring Gen Zs. And I
Mm.
feel like I'm that Zillennial era where I can kind
Mm-hmm.
of bridge the gap and show
Yeah.
you guys like, hey, this like old school mentality of like, of a commission salon owner of, we keep the lights on, we supply back bar and products, and
Mm-hmm.
we pay the rent. Like, that's not
It's
going to
not
cut it
standing
anymore.
out today. Yeah.
Like, that is basic. That's like
Mm-hmm.
expected. Now, what
Mm-hmm.
sets you apart? Like for us, we do
Yeah.
quarterly content photo shoots where I bring in a photographer and a videographer,
Wow.
and everybody gets content. It's like things like that that kind of set
Mm-hmm.
you apart.
Yeah.
And like learning how to speak, offering the things you need to offer to attract the type of talent that you want. So that's kind of how that came to be. So I was like, hey, this works. And I'm passionate about it. So
Yeah.
I can write a book on this. And so it's like 99.9%
Love.
ready. And so it'll be launching in the next like 7 days or so. So I'm
Yeah.
very excited to see that come to fruition.
Yeah, Whitney and I talked before, like I said, before I hit record. So we're recording this on January 31st. You guys are going to hear this into March. I'm actually like really on top of my batching right now. So why don't you tell them what it's going to be? You told me that you were going to do like a early bird special for the first 100 people that buy it. After that, the price is going to go up. But you said for it, we will have a link for this podcast episode specifically where they can get the book for 97. What did you say?
97. Yes,
Amazing.
$97.
Cool. Love that. I
Yes.
really appreciate you doing that. That's really amazing. And it's funny that you say this because actually, inside of Stylist Soul Tribe in March, we have a hot seat already scheduled for a really successful owner in the mastermind that I run. But she wants everybody's support around hiring the right staff. So it really is kind of wild timing. I'm like, we need to get you in there and pouring into her because you're right. So many people deal with that. So I do feel like you have something special right now because I don't know the perfect fit for that. I can bring people around and we can all brainstorm and we can think about it together. I love that you feel like you have a system and a process for that. That's incredible.
Yes, yeah. And I think it's the way I developed the system too is to be very much flexible and adaptable. Like, you take what works for me, like kind of principles,
Mm,
and what fits your culture, your vibe, your values of your salon. Because
yeah.
not what I, value for my salon is not the same for other people in their salons. And
Yeah.
so that kind of, being able to manipulate it to fit what the type of talent you want to attract
Yeah.
is really nice. But yeah, I mean, it's a huge problem in our industry, staffing, and people just want to complain about these Gen Zers that they don't want to work. And I'm like, no, they just want to work. They want to work for something that's bigger than themselves. They
Yes.
want to know, how is this benefiting me? I don't want to just come in and do hair and go. I
Yeah.
want to be a part of something
And
that's
they're going to get
making a
really
change.
uncomfortable when you get to put a glass ceiling in front of them really quickly.
Mhm.
So I think that that's incredible. Okay, I want to pick your brain now just because we can't let you like get off of this recording without touching on it. You were on this TV show. I don't even know anything about it, but I stalked your Instagram. But I don't watch TV in like any capacity almost. How the heck did you find yourself on there? What was that process like? Obviously, I have to hard stop in an hour or else it doesn't let me upload video. But like, I want to hear a little bit about that. We can't not touch on that. What the heck was that about?
Yes.
On top of
Yeah, it
all
was
these
so.
things that you've done in the last year, like, how did that work itself in as well?
Oh, I know. And it's just a true testament to the team I've hired, because I was gone for like, out of last year, I was gone like 6 weeks out of the country,
Wow.
like totally different time zone, just out, and we still like record,
Incredible.
blew through our numbers. So, cheers to my team that held the fort down for me. But so basically, a shampoo rep came up to me and was like, "Hey, this Clip Parf Milano, this brand is putting together a TV show, and I think you
Okay.
should audition." And it was just wild to me because I had told everybody, like, I'm obsessed with Tabitha and Tabitha Takes Over.
Uh-huh.
Like I own them. And I
Love
watched
that.
them in hair school, like that. She was just like, holy cow, hairstylist can be on TV. Like what?
Yeah,
So
that really spoke to you.
yes, I was like, we need an Ink Masters for hair. And so I actually
Yes.
watched old Sheer Geniuses from 2007 where Tabitha got her start.
Mm-hmm.
I studied them actually before I left because I was like, what kind of challenges could come from
Yeah.
this? And so I kind of spoke it into existence of
Mm-hmm.
just like, oh, I want one,
I'm
for
huge on
hair.
law
I
of attraction, so I fully believe that you manifested that.
Yes. And so I was like, I want one. And then the opportunity presented itself, and
Wow.
I sent in my audition, and then they asked me to come to New York for a live audition. And that was a wild story because I was actually booked for a wedding in Cancun the day
Wow.
before, and I had to change my flight and fly overnight from
Oh my,
Cancun
but
to
you're like,
New
I'm not
York.
letting this opportunity, but I'm not
Yeah.
screwing this client over. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. And meanwhile, my whole family thinks I'm nuts because this is first season. So there's no like
Proof
record
of
to say
this.
like,
They're
oh,
like, are you
this is
getting
where I'm.
kidnapped? Yes.
They thought I was getting myself human trafficked. They're like, oh, they got you.
One
Do you want to
time
be famous?
Kajabi flew me out to the headquarters, and that was a crazy experience too. And I remember getting that email, and my mother-in-law, my dad, like so many people were like, how do you know that that's actually what this is? Are you really just gonna get on an airplane, Lisa? And it
No,
was for real.
literally, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we got to New York, did all of that, and then and that was just a whole story too.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to cut back,
I know we might have to have you back on for another episode deep diving into
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yes, and so that was a whole fun story. And then I got the text or the email that I would be they asked me to film the TV show in Spain, and there's
Wow.
12 of us going, but only 10 were gonna get on the show. So
Wow.
two people were gonna be alternates, and we didn't know who. So at this point, I still like couldn't really get super excited. I was like nervous to post about it because I'm like, well, what
Uh-huh.
if I'm an alternate? That's gonna be
Yeah.
really embarrassing.
Yeah.
Um, but so that was really crazy. I like wore my running shoes, and my husband made me put an air tag in my bra, and like
Fair.
he found the US embassy's like address and phone number.
Oh my
And because I'm like,
goodness.
I had to fly to Spain alone, and then somebody in a van picked me up at the airport and brought me to the hotel. I'm
Kind of
like,
scary.
I hope we're going the right way. Like, I didn't know
Uh-huh.
that.
Yeah.
So that was crazy. And then, the first day on set, and they drove us an hour out of Madrid and to these warehouse buildings. You would never know it was a movie set.
Wow.
And we're on the same set as Master Chef. I'm like eating in the same cafeteria as Master Chef, Project Runway,
Wow.
like America's Got Talent. And so everything's getting filmed out there. It was just, I mean, it was like the most intense time of my life in the good ways and the bad ways. So like the
Yeah.
things that were pretty crazy were like magnified, and the things that were
Hmm.
like insane
And
cool was also
exciting. Yeah.
magnified.
Wow.
We're getting mic'd up, and Rihanna and Nikki from Salon 901 in
Mm-hmm.
LA, like
Yeah.
they were on the judges. So I'm like, I met Shakira's hairstylist, I
Wow.
met Christine Quinn from Selling Sunset. And so it's
So
like all of these,
cool.
you're just like, what? So that was pretty crazy to watch all of that go down. And then it was a little tricky with the castmates. There was some, I don't, did you, I guess you haven't watched the
I
show
haven't
then,
watched it.
because,
No, no,
okay,
honestly, I'd
it's
never
on,
even truthfully heard of it. But when I went to the page, because I went to it from your page, I saw that a ton of Soul Tribe members are like follow that show. So I'm just under a rock over here. I just read books and
yeah,
that's all I do. But that's incredible.
yeah, it was a really cool, exciting journey. I'm really grateful to be a part of it. I learned so much about, just all facets of hair, people, like what's possible in this industry.
Yeah.
And I gained a lot of confidence in myself. I ran into a similar problem with like maybe people feeling a little bit threatened by me, from
Mm-hmm.
my first salon. That happened a little bit with the castmates I had there, and
Mm.
there was a little bit of drama that went
Yeah,
down.
fair.
If you've seen it, episode 3 is
Okay.
spicy. So episode
Okay.
3 is when it's a little bit heated,
And that was all
between me
real.
and
None of that is fake. I'm always wondering like how much of that is like,
no, it was
scripted.
all real. And it was all real, and I'm almost irritated that they didn't. So I think since it was season 1, it was like budget season 1, like
Mm-hmm.
let's see. It did get renewed for season 2, so I think maybe their
Amazing.
budget will be bigger for season 2, but they didn't film anything outside of the set. So like
Wow.
they missed out on a whole nother show that happened off out of the
Like
cameras.
the
And
Bachelor Mansion, what's happening behind the scenes. Yeah.
yes, no, and everybody, like there was one dinner we were having where like me and Bo, my bestie Bo, we're sitting here drinking our drinks, and these two girls are standing up in public at tables screaming at each other. And we
Ah,
were just like,
stop.
uh,
You're like,
and
where are the
totally real.
cameras?
Yeah,
Wow.
and yeah, I'm like, why are we not getting this? Like what?
Oh my
But yeah,
goodness.
that was definitely real. Like they didn't tell us to script. They really, and the only things we had to kind of fake was like I don't know. Don't even know if I'm allowed to like say this
You're like, I should
stuff,
probably
but
go
I
back
mean,
to my NDA and see what I
yeah.
agree
Yeah,
to.
I'm like, yeah, like let's see. But we knew the challenges before the
Okay.
challenges.
Okay. And you
So
have to
like we
act
had to act
surprised.
surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.
So
I
like
would
that kind
imagine
of
that
stuff.
I mean, how else do you make something like this happen? There has to be loopholes like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's some things like that where we're like, wow, we had no
Hmm.
idea.
Yeah, that's
Um,
so funny.
but I will say the hosts, they had lines. They had somebody in their ear like
Oh,
the
wow.
whole time. Yeah.
Wow.
Because I was a little frustrated. I think if you were to ask me my opinions on Nikki, and Rihanna, not knowing they had lines, I'd be like, who are they? And who do they
Yeah.
think they are? Like, why are
Yeah.
they judging me, critiquing me like this? Like, are they even? And then I'm like, oh, they're getting fed lines. So it's like,
Hmm.
but I will say, like, I can't watch reality TV anymore without like knowing like that's not real.
That's
That's
kind of
not
how
real.
I already feel about reality TV, but I can bet you have already like a whole different perspective
Yeah,
around
like
it.
some people got eliminated like 3 times because they didn't walk off right, or like
It's like,
the
okay, let's
cameras.
start over.
Like,
Act really surprised
yeah,
again. Take that's
yeah,
so
yeah.
funny.
Like, yeah, and they get eliminated again. So that was pretty crazy.
Wow.
And then when people went home, they didn't really go home, they were still hanging out in Spain,
Oh,
while
wow.
we were all submitting ourselves to torture the next
That
days as
is
the competition
crazy.
continued.
Well, here's my big takeaways from that. One, I believe in the power of manifestation, and I fully think that I don't know if you make vision boards, I don't know if you're into all that,
Oh
but
yeah.
like, okay,
Oh
so
yeah.
you brought that to life. I fully, fully, fully believe that. And two, I'm not saying this is maybe the right move for everybody because you're right. Human trafficking is real, but there is something to just blind naivety of just like, I'm just so fucking excited. I'm just going to try it. And that's how I've always lived my life too. And if I listen to all the scared people around me, every time
Mhm.
opportunities like that present itself, I remember the first time when I literally invested in Thrivers back in 2016. My husband was like, that is an online scam. You should not do that. Blah, blah, blah. But there wasn't education like that. And then when I flew across country to go to a retreat, when I do all these things, like if I listen to the people around me, which no, I love my husband, I love my parents, they're just looking out. But people who are doing big things have that special something in them where they just, I don't know if it's because I'm an Enneagram 7, I'm an optimist, like I'm just expecting the best to happen in situations. And I find, and it sounds like you find yourself in these crazy off the wall situations as well. And statistically, where you're at right now, because you just believe you can, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's the people that have the courage to jump off not knowing where they're going and knowing that
Mm-hmm.
like we're gonna figure it out. Like Marie Forleo's book, Everything's Figureoutable, was really a
Mm,
good book that kind of set the tone for me of like,
yeah.
I'm just gonna try like anything that sparks my interest or my passion or
Yep.
something like that. I'm just gonna give it a go. And if it doesn't work for me, I'll learn something from it. If that's the worst that happens, if it's not a failure, it's a learning opportunity. So
Yes.
if I can learn from it, move forward, and then sometimes you end up in Spain on an all expense paid trip
Crazy.
and you're on TV. It's like,
Crazy.
how does that happen? You just follow your heart and
Yeah.
go for it.
And you take some chances every once in a while
Mhm.
because it's high risk, high reward. I love that. Oh my God, what
Exactly.
a cool life you have. I could interview you for 20 hours straight, I think. It's been
No,
really
for
cool
real.
to get to know you, Whitney. Thank you so much. I had some other things in my talking points. We could have gone the AI route. We could have gone a lot of different routes, but I think for time's sake, we'll wrap it up at that. We definitely are going to have to stay connected, you and I, as you continue to launch this ebook, as you continue your journey. I'm just grateful, like I said, to have this opportunity to get to know people really well. And now I'll never forget this, and you're going to be my friend. And I love that, you know? So I will put the ebook in the show notes, in the description, wherever you're listening to this. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
I would just like to get to know your soul tribe people. I mean, I think that is how we were drawn to each
Yeah.
other. I think that you have an audience of hairstylists and beauty business owners out there that, would align close to what I'm working on. And I love
Yeah.
seeing people on our same mission and
Yep.
goals. Like we're here to like make a difference in the beauty industry. And so I'm excited to kind of connect
Hell
with
yeah.
some of your audience members and see what we can all do together because we are so much better when we put our heads together. And I really am a huge advocate community over competition. So I'm just
Absolutely.
excited to kind of like get to know your audience a little bit better and jump off the bridge, guys. Like go shoot for the stars and do the things, even if you're a little scared,
Hell
and
yeah.
see where life takes you. And then send me a DM because I want to know what happened.
Yes. Yes. Same. Okay. Love it. Thank you so much for listening, friends. Thank you, Whitney. And I will talk to you all next week.